Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is the Creative Collaboration Show with Chuck Anderson, and this is the show where we serve business owners and entrepreneurs, coaches, course creators, whatever type of business you might be in. And we talk about strategies for growing your business. The reality of every business is you need more leads and you need more sales, you need more exposure. And, a great way to do that is through virtual events. And anyone who's been to my workshops and has worked with me knows that our primary method of list building and client acquisition is through virtual events. And my guest today is not only experienced with virtual events, but is an innovator in some new technology that's going to make virtual events even easier and more interesting than ever before. So today I have Nicole Borghi with me, and we're going to be diving deep into this idea of virtual events and all of the ideas that she has. So Nicole, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chuck. It's good to be here.
I love that you're here, and I know this has been a long time coming. We've been definitely wanting to do this for a while. So, Nicole, I don't like to butcher people's introductions, so I won't. I will get you to start by letting everybody know a little bit about yourself, your background, and how that led you to virtual events.
Well, you know what? My background now is basically working with speakers and podcasters and virtual events. But getting to that point was really that pain point of finding out, where do I get a stage? How do I get a stage? And being in front of people and showing up, and that's really standing out and shining for the most part of it, and sharing with people, hey, my business is the digital diva, so working on digital platforms, and that really came from the discovery of kind of messing up. you know the mess became the message, and how did I find out this path was in the background, just trying to get on YouTube or Instagram, and playing around on social media, and realizing, what, I learned all this and I took all these courses and classes, and the best thing for me was to share my knowledge. And I started showing people, hey, look, I made this slip up. Maybe I can make this better for you. And being able to take this with me anywhere. And virtual events are amazing because you can do them on your phone or you can do them on your laptop. And so traveling around, just in even in the continental United States, you could do it from anywhere, however you want.
We were joking before this episode that in today's marketplace and virtual events is that we only have to get dressed and look good from here up. And I know that's even changing with some of the technology. So what are some of the virtual events that you've been part of, and what have you seen that is really working out there in terms of virtual events?
Well, the fun is getting to the point that we are now, and you can create your own stages. So you don't have to go to public, you don't have to fly anywhere, you don't have to worry about something closing down, you don't have to worry that you packed your toothbrush and that you're gonna, you got coffee breath or whatever next to the person next to you, or you forgot your bottom half of your suit or something. And just travel just really wears on you if you're doing it for business, because it's go, 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 go. And you never really get to that point of the vacation where you think you're going to take a few hours, head to the beach or something like that. It doesn't always work out as planned. And virtual events don't either, but you can kind of fudge it just a little bit because nobody sees what's going on behind the stages. And you can get a bit more participation, and you don't have to worry about that person in the front of the audience. And the fun is now that we get to gamify the events into the virtual space of Web3, and to really innovate that at this point is like, hey, yes, we could still do Zoom. It's great, it works, it's wonderful, it's simple, and I really love the acronym KISS, keep it simple stupid. Really keeping it easy, and bringing that forward. we launched last year in October for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I work with a nonprofit called Confronting Domestic Violence. And the great thing on the virtual space in virtual reality was a few of the people that we were working with weren't quite ready to show their face or to be seen. And talk about not being able to be seen or heard. It's even harder if you're hiding. And the ability to bring women and men into virtual reality. And if they want to, they could still show their face, just like Zoom. We have a little bubble. But the reality is you need to respect and know who your customers are. And how do you do that? So this is it's exciting for me because you could still make money, you can still generate income, and we can respect the people that we work with and allow them to show themselves or not show themselves, come in a character. You can, come in a furry suit if you want and identify however you want. And that's the great thing of this. And you don't have to brush your hair or your teeth, and you could just you don't have to have a camera or a headset, and it's just show up, click a link, and there you are, and be your best self, and then generate from that. And it's great for the audience and all ages, really, in that space. And we're not forgetting the group of people that are coming up. A lot of times, in 2020, we had issues with at Toastmasters with teaching someone that was 85 and teaching someone that was 23 how to unmute. And how many times do we forget that? We had a little bit of an issue when we started. And it's just, it's how to use these tools. And the simplicity is, if you show up, you take a breath and just pull the trigger, and there you are. And it's as simple as that. And you don't have to make it difficult. And here you are. And the great thing is you can edit it.
Oh, exactly. Especially when you're putting the recording out there and all of that. So I like this idea of virtual reality, and I know you've been working on this with some of your partners. What is what led you to this? What led you to this discovery and taking virtual events, to this level?
Well, the great thing is it's here. The
Mm-hmm.
great thing is it's easy, and I'm a Silicon Valley baby. So I was born in the 70s, raised up in the 80s, and what a group of years where Silicon Valley was building and growing. We had those big, huge 10.5-inch floppy disks, the big fish kind of thing, but they were huge. They were ridiculous. Your computer took up your house. If you had a fax machine, I don't know if anybody knows what a fax machine is, but we had to pick up the phone, dial, and then it was this really weird green and white striped paper, and it would just print in kind of purple ink at the time, a big fax, and it just cost thousands of dollars. And being around engineers and people of that aspect, to see these people come in, even doctors and scientists, to build this technology, it was great. But you had to program the program. And so if anybody knows MS-DOS, you kind of had to understand code, at least a couple sheets of code. Even when I was in the police department, we had to know some code too, because before 95 hit and we got Microsoft, which was 95 was the most amazing system. But teaching people in the police department how to kind of get on a typewriter and not dictate anymore. So I've seen those changes and how hard it was, and then the Palm Pilots coming. And the thing is that it got so difficult, but it became a part of our lives. And technology is supposed to make things easy. And seeing the change and the growth, and now I don't have to have a headset. I can't see, I'm dyslexic. I get my peripheral vision, it just messes me up, gets me seasick. I can't do it, but I can talk to you just like this, and I can look at a laptop, or I can get an app on my phone now and be on the stage anywhere or watch something. And that's the great thing about this is Web3's here, AI's here. No, the robots aren't going to take over the world if you don't let them. So the point really, even as a healer or Reiki practitioner, is to take this reality from Silicon Valley and merge it with the dimensions and the portals of what they're actually researching in Silicon Valley now, and what they've opened is to share that as a healer, these are the dimensions we talked about. These are the downloads of the knowledge and the Akashic records all into one space. And it's so great right now. Things are so easy. You could just get on and be a part of this. I don't have to code. I don't have to pay someone to code because it's ridiculous. And I don't know how many of your viewers have tried to run UE5 and CGI. It's a mess. It's a lot. Um, and getting into that back office and doing that, and um, nowadays it's all there, a click of a button, and it's so easy. Why not use it, and why not integrate this now? And that's the point of really changing this to virtual stages for podcasters and speakers, because now you can sell all your goods and wares and affiliate that in joint venture, and it's profitable and it's cheap. So why not do it?
There you go. Well, and so you just mentioned podcasters and speakers, who is primarily who you're working with. What are you noticing in terms of the ones that you're talking to, the ones that are coming to you for help, in terms of the opportunity to maybe have their own stage or to create virtual events? What are you hearing from them? What are the challenges that they're having, and then how do you help them to overcome that?
Oh, great questions, because my podcast is called just that, pain point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really understanding the pain point of where someone is at. And that's one, is definitely finding your own stage. If you're a speaker and a podcaster, where do I start? How do I start? Maybe you have a following and you're a coach and you're bringing that in. Why not bring your people to you and use that virtual space to share with them everything you have? And it's an immersive marketing factor of getting that. And also the other thing is really profit, which leads to the monetization, and sponsorship is a second one of a pain point for a lot of my customers or people I network with, is how do I monetize this? And Chuck, you talk about affiliation, which has sent me down this big rabbit hole, which is amazing. And I so appreciate that, because it has changed the workspace, and it has changed how I do anything that I do, because I don't have to pay $3,000 to do a YouTube ad, which goes nowhere and nobody watches it, and people just click and nothing happens. There's no return. With affiliation, my group, my tribe will share me, and they can get a little bit of the money on the back end. And it's so wonderful, because now we're crafting a community. And that third thing is right now, another pain point is generating leads. And it's as easy as affiliation in itself. You share affiliation, you share a link, and you get all that email content. We sold ourselves. Some people I know say, and I just say it, is kind of sold your soul to the devil of Facebook. You gave all your information away, but yet Facebook shut you down. They took all your crew. And I remember about I want to say it's about probably 5-10 years ago, people, 20,000 members on Facebook groups, and people just lost everything. They had no backup. In the virtual space, when you create your own quote unquote world in there, and you're building your own stages, those are your people. When you affiliate and you generate leads through a freebie or a lead magnet, you get those emails, and those are people who subscribe to you. They're not getting sold to you. They're subscribing because they want to. And what an energetic exchange that is. It raises the XR frequency like phenomenally.
Mm-hmm. You know, all the things that you just mentioned are all the reasons why I have really adopted virtual events in my business. I run workshops and webinars every single month. Soon it'll be every single week, and then bigger events like summits and virtual conferences and things like that. And one of the to your point about affiliate, is that when it comes to having other people promote your event for you and filling your event for you, there's no easier way to do that than through other people's lists. And they want to promote it. I mean, affiliates love to promote events, and it is a nice, easy thing for them, to ask an affiliate to do. And so you can set up this really cool virtual event, which is going to help you to, like you said, grow your list and develop a relationship with the audience and sell whatever services or product that you're selling. But it also makes it very easy for affiliates to promote because it's an event and it's cool and it's got a date and a deadline built into it, and so these are all the things that we love about it. Um, and so I know that so that you're definitely innovating in terms of how virtual events are done. But what are some of the typical types of events that you are working with your clients and the people who come to you for help that are really getting them some great results?
So some of the events can be as small as just a podcast. That's an event and sponsorship, and it runs on that same premise and the same strategy. So all the logistics are kind of the same on the back end. But creating that and having speaker stages, so just virtual summits for people to come on the stage, and working into even networking. So we're working with that as well. There have been NFT crypto events where people are having their groups in there and they're sharing information. And it's a fun way to listen to stuff that you're not necessarily going to engage in, but if you gamify it on this platform, more people will engage in money and NFTs, um, because it's something good to learn. And we have um, you know domestic violence awareness, and I'm working with a nonprofit in for October again to do a gala and to stream on the virtual space and to create that content. So we're working on those events, and it's just great to kind of share and network, because all at the bottom of that, everybody's got that same pain point of that immersive marketing and branding, where they really want to get out and get in there, and it's just kind of like when you get those three pain points and you start to understand what that is and how that works on the simplest um, in the simplest form, you can bring that into a stage and sharing that. So just virtual summits and really sharing with people how to go beyond the stage, and what's that next thing that you can harness those virtual events for. So everything now is just a virtual event. Anything that we do is a virtual event. So if you think about it without getting too deep into it and the technology on it, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, those were all virtual. What we're doing now is virtual. Everything is a virtual event. And so sharing with people how easy it is on at the lowest point of that up to the highest peak of creating your own tribe and your own spaces. So sharing with coaches how they can have their own space, and it works for every platform that they utilize.
Yeah, I think that's a great lead into talking a little bit more about your virtual event. And you practically said the title of it right there in just what you said. But I think that's a good point to insert this because I think anyone listening in who's kind of curious about virtual events and how they can use it to generate leads and more sales and more visibility in their business should really check this out and go spend some more time with you diving deep into this and start thinking about and planning how they can either up level their current events or start doing events if they're not doing already, like you said, creating their own stage. So tell everybody about your webinar, your event, and what it is and what they will learn when they're there.
Well, thanks for that. My webinar is going to be beyond the stage, and how to go beyond the stage. It's called Beyond the Stage: Harnessing the Power of Virtual Reality Summits from Zoom on, and that's really sharing with people um, the how to really the strategy and how to structure the event. So that's crafting the killer virtual summits and building thriving communities and maximizing sponsorships and revenue streams that continue and have continuity for your business. When you are able to craft it once and get that strategy down, it's rinse and repeat. So it's really sharing how the discovery of how to transform your passion for virtual summits into profitable ventures. They're not highly cost, they don't cost a lot to run. And you can even take the video and share with people how to monetize off the video of that and tickets. So it's crafting those bulletproof strategies for the client and sharing those buzzworthy summits that people want to go to, sharing those information, getting speakers, and it's just those steps of learning and sharing the technology and the strategy to empower everyone to be able to really just knock it out of the park. You have these tools with you. Some of them are free. Utilize them and just harness that power. And how do you get that launch out there? How do you craft it? And we all have everything in our box. How do we take those little folders out and where can we use the information that we already have? And it's just, even down to tips for sponsorships and marketing. And the affiliation is one of them. I mean, we just dropped those bombshells a couple of times. Those are writer downers. When you affiliate, you're generating leads, and now you can generate sponsors because people know that you have these really cool summits that you've launched. They're going to want to market, and you can have those banners there. You can put a booth in the virtual space, and now you can market. And so you're generating income, and people are being seen and heard. And when you have a community and a tribe that you have and they're supporting you, they want to know how to support you, and they'll show up every time and they'll continue. It's the continuity and the rinse and repeat on it.
That sounds amazing. Well, anyone listening in right now, if you're not already itching to look for where you can register, you're going to find that link right beneath this video. If you're watching this on video or on YouTube, the link is right there. And if you're listening to this on podcast, of course, if you go into the player, whatever network you're listening to this on, the link is there in the notes as well. That will take you to Nicole's page where all it takes is a name and an email address, and you're in. And these are events and webinars that Nicole is running regularly, and you can check it out and learn more from Nicole there. And so, Nicole, other than registering for your webinar, which I think is a great next step, what would you say are some of the next steps or things people should be thinking about in terms of harnessing the power of virtual events?
Well, in those next steps, and come to the webinar, it's free, right? You can learn a little something or share, get your learn on in there and just engage. What once you engage in this and you're creating your own stage, you're birthing your own product and service into the world, and you're sharing that great energy, and you can use this user-friendly platform and reshare it. And how fantastic is that? Because who do you know, like, and trust, and how can you share this? So what's the next step of that? Utilize that magic that you have, and really just come on the stage and get seen, get heard, get noticed.
Absolutely. So, pardon me. So yeah, time well spent, and I think we could probably spend hours really talking about all of the things that you can do now to plan a virtual event and to execute a virtual event, and to even make it really cool, because like you said, some of the new technologies such as Web3 and virtual reality are really kind of taking it to the next level, and people are now sort of discovering this world outside of Zoom. And even for myself, I mean, I do a lot of events and they're all through Zoom, but it's so cool to see what is possible and what can be done. So I really appreciate you sharing that, and I definitely looking forward to checking out your webinar and learning more about that. Now, before I let you go, right? Because I have to ask, because I started this bit of a social experiment at the beginning of this podcast where I started asking my guests for a must-read book recommendation. And when I started asking the question, I thought, I'm going to get a lot of the same, recommendations, and I'm going to get a lot of the same books. But what happened was almost every guest, few exceptions, very, very few duplication, but almost every guest has had their own recommendation that we had not received from a previous guest. And we're almost 100 episodes into this, and that has been true. So I want to ask you, since we're speaking to business owners and entrepreneurs and coaches and consultants and speakers, are always trying to take their business and their lives to the next level. And so much great information is written in books. I wanted to ask you if you had one book that you would recommend that everyone put on their must read list. Which one would you recommend?
I would recommend The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
Mm.
And I read that from the academy on in through law enforcement. And the wonderful thing about that book is it teaches leadership, and it teaches you to identify and plan ahead, but it also teaches you to identify your enemy. And when you identify your enemy, or in our world of networking and being speakers and podcasters, we can get a little bit jealous of the other influencer in the room, or the person that has cool stuff that we don't. And when you know that enemy and how they work, or talk or run their business, you know how to plan the competition. And so taking a little bit of the knowledge of what they do well and what they do that fails, and so take the success and take the failures and combine those and learn from that and move forward, and then you can conquer that enemy, or even the enemy within, on a soul level, that we have that little sabotager.
Wow. Great book recommendation. And definitely our streak is alive because no other guest has recommended that book. But I love not only the book recommendation, but why you recommend it. And that just speaks to me on so many levels. I see it all the time. I attend a lot of virtual networking events, and you can kind of see the reaction of people when they get into a breakout room or they get into a virtual event, and they perceive someone as being their direct competitor
Yes.
or doing the same thing that they do. And nobody really does the same thing that another person does. I mean, there is uniqueness there if you are willing to look for it. There's collaboration potential if you are willing to look for it. But this whole, you can just see the, going into the turtle shell, and like it's like, well, they're already sharing and I loved their message, mine is not going to be as good as that one. um and all of that. So do you see that out there as well?
I see it a lot. My background is really in leadership and
Mm-hmm.
commanding. And so, in that management and those supervisory roles, it's reading that body language, and seeing that people just, they go in their turtle shell, and they crouch down, and they get scared. Hey, take a second, turn off your camera, take a breath, turn it back on, and come into the room. Be there, know, like, and trust people. You don't, you can't know if they're better or not unless you talk to them. And you teach that all the time. You've got to get to know people and get into those breakout rooms. And it can be exhausting, but as an energy worker, you can read through that energy and not be on that empathic where you're taking all their negative energy and letting them suck all your good juju out, but really sharing how do you what are they doing, how are they holding themselves, and how are you holding themselves, how are you mirroring that energy. And just, it shows up on Zoom whether you like it or not, it really does.
Yeah, you can. I can see it, and I love watching people's reactions. And for me, I just think that one of the best things I ever did in my business to kind of develop that confidence in, it doesn't matter if another marketing consultant is in the room, if another even affiliate manager is in the room. It doesn't matter because there's always a way to collaborate. I was at an event yesterday where almost everyone at the event were people who do what I do. And so then the it's an opportunity to say, how can we all help each other do better at what we do? It's not like, oh, you do the same thing I do, and so like we're going to avoid each other when we're out there. But it's no, how can we work together to lift both of our businesses up? And it's something really cool when you get into a room of 30 people who do something very similar to what you do, and then to come out of there with those opportunities. And so it's all in a different way of looking at that. And that's why your book recommendation really speaks to me, because people may judge the title, but when you actually really get in there and see what is being said, it's really about understanding. And 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 when you understand, then you can make better decisions, right? And so
100%. Instead of getting in the hate, understand why that person does what they do, or how
mhm.
they do, or what knowledge and what education and experience they bring to the table. And you know what? There's so many people that either you can take their course and take their coaching if they are really phenomenal and just knock it out of the park. When they're the rock star, go with it. Maybe there's something you can learn from them. Don't copy and paste what they do and just think you're going to show up, spitting and talking about the same subject and using the same terminology. Don't steal it from someone. But
Mhm.
when you know your enemy and you know yourself, and they can be one and the same psychologically, but when you know that, you have better business. And sometimes maybe that just means turn off the phone for a minute when you're done, and look at what you have, what you've developed, and where you come. That person might have years of experience. I mean, I wouldn't say, hey, I'm the affiliate queen and run Chuck's stuff and do all that. I'm going to say, hey, I learned from Chuck. Go to Chuck. He's phenomenal. He's amazing. Go learn from Chuck. Learn what he does, and then just take it and bring it up the next level. And that's just it. It takes a bit, and it was hard for me to start networking because I was used to telling people what to do and what not to do, and now I had to listen and learn. And that's where that book comes in, and reading it again year after year to say, okay, what am I looking for? Know my surrounding. Understand where I'm at, understand what I'm doing. Drink a little extra coffee, have some breakfast, be alive, be awake, and be there, in that room. But don't be the you know don't be the welcome mat and let everybody rub their feet over you, and take advantage of what wonderful products you have. And that's where it comes in with doing virtual events. Is the amazing part of that is I can come to the event, show up for a few minutes, and then go do what I have to do, or take a break, do some yoga, do some meditation afterwards. And then, I don't have to be there. And that's the difference between a live event and a virtual event. All that drama that goes on behind the scenes, things that fail, stuff that falls apart, friends we have or people we thought we knew, and you see them in a convention or a hotel, totally different after hours. But here, you know each other, and you're safe, and you're comfortable. And just think, you can always turn it off. And that's the thing. You can always turn it off, or you can show up just for 5 minutes. Anybody can. And that's the beauty of this, is you have the control and you can take the power back.
So true. Well, this has been a great episode. We've talked a lot about virtual events, and we talked about Nicole's webinar. If you haven't already registered, click the link right beneath this video. Go ahead and register for that workshop right now. Or if you're listening to this on podcast, it's going to be right there in the player, in the show notes for this episode. The link to Nicole's workshop and webinar is all right there. So, Nicole, thank you so much for your time and just everything that you've shared today. It's been amazing. If you were to leave our guests here today with just one final piece of advice or words of wisdom, what would you say?
Just do it.
Hmm.
Go to the
Right.
website and register. No, but just do it. Start somewhere. Start it today. Get on your virtual space and get out there. Take advantage of it. Absolutely.
That is great words to end this episode by. So, Nicole, thank you so much. To our audience, thank you also. And I want this time that you've just spent with us to mean something. I want you to take something that you learned today, and it could be, and it could be one of the tips Nicole shared. It could be even just go register for her webinar. I want you to identify one action step that you can take, and then just go do it. Just go do it, because that's how we make progress. And doesn't matter what the obstacles are, just keep moving forward. Keep taking those steps towards your big dream, your goal, whatever it is that you're in pursuit of. And the only way to fail is to quit. And until next time, this has been the Creative Collaboration Show. I'm Chuck Anderson. We'll see you on the next episode, everybody. Thank you.